Tonight's story, she invited her ex for closure. Then her husband walked in, smiled calmly, and revealed he knew everything all along. Like and subscribe for more real relationship stories, and comment your city and country below. Now let's begin.
I invited my ex for closure because I thought I deserved peace. I told myself it wasn't cheating. I told myself it was harmless. I even convinced myself it would make me a better wife afterward, because once I finally closed that chapter, I could fully commit to my husband without any what if in my mind. That was the lie I fed myself. The truth is, I wanted to feel something. And I never expected my husband to walk in and smile like he already knew everything. It started on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. My husband Daniel had left for work early. We'd been married 3 years, together for 5. He was stable, loyal, not the dramatic type. He didn't scream when upset. He didn't throw accusations. He was calm in a way that sometimes made me feel guilty for even having doubts. But I had doubts anyway. Not about him. About me. A few weeks earlier, I'd run into my ex, Ryan, at a grocery store. It was one of those moments where time freezes for half a second. We made eye contact, and suddenly I felt 22 again, before marriage, before responsibility, before being someone. Wife. Ryan smiled like he had never stopped knowing me. We exchanged small talk, nothing deep, but he ended it with, "If you ever want to talk, I'd like that." I should have forgotten it. Instead, I kept replaying it. And I hated myself for how much it affected me. Ryan and I had a messy relationship. Passionate, intense, toxic at times, the kind of love that burns bright but also burns you. We broke up because we fought too much and wanted different futures, but there was never a clean ending, no real closure, just distance and time. So one night when Daniel fell asleep beside me, I found myself scrolling through old messages in my phone like an idiot. Then I did the thing I swore I'd never do. I texted Ryan, "Hey, do you still want to talk?" He replied almost instantly, like he'd been waiting. We agreed to meet for coffee, then coffee turned into maybe dinner, then dinner became, "Come by my place, it'll be quieter." I told Daniel I was meeting a friend from college. That lie tasted bitter in my mouth, but I swallowed it anyway. That evening I cleaned the house more than usual, not because it was dirty, but because I was nervous. I lit a candle like I was preparing for a date, which should have been my sign to stop. At 7:10 p.m., Ryan knocked. When I opened the door, my heart did something stupid. He looked older, but in a good way, same confident eyes, same voice. He held a small bag and said, "I brought dessert." I laughed, trying to act normal. "You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to," he said, and the way he said it felt loaded. We sat in the living room like two people pretending to be mature. We talked about work, life, the past. He apologized for how things ended. I said I forgave him. I told him I was married now. He nodded, "I know. That should have been it." But then he asked, "Are you happy?" That one question pulled the floor out from under me. Because I didn't know how to answer without exposing parts of myself I kept hidden. Daniel and I were fine, good, safe, but if I'm being honest, life with Daniel felt like a steady song on repeat. It wasn't thrilling, it wasn't unpredictable, it was stable. And Ryan represented chaos. The kind of chaos that makes you feel alive. So I gave a weak answer, "I'm happy." Ryan didn't challenge it, but his eyes did. He leaned back and said quietly, "I never stopped thinking about you." I felt my stomach twist. I should have shut it down. I should have stood up and ended the conversation. Instead, I stayed sitting. That was my second mistake. The air between us became heavy. It felt like the past was standing in the room with us. Then Ryan reached over and touched my hand. It was gentle, almost innocent. But my body reacted like it remembered him. I pulled my hand back quickly. "Ryan." He nodded, "I know you're married." Then he smiled slightly and said, "But you invited me here." My throat went dry. Before I could respond, we heard the sound of keys at the front door. My entire body froze. Ryan looked toward the door. "Is that?" I stood up so fast my knees nearly gave out. "That's my husband." My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Daniel was not supposed to be home for another hour. I whispered, "You need to go now." Ryan stood slowly, calm, like he wasn't scared at all. "Relax," he said, "it's just a conversation." Then the door opened. Daniel walked in. And what happened next is the moment I'll never forget for the rest of my life. Daniel looked at Ryan, then looked at me. And he smiled. Not a confused smile. Not a nervous smile. A calm smile, like he'd walked into exactly what he expected. Hey, Daniel said casually, closing the door behind him. Ryan, right? My stomach dropped. Ryan blinked, surprised. Yeah, hi. I stood there speechless, feeling like the walls were closing in. Daniel took off his jacket slowly, like this wasn't shocking to him at all, like this was scheduled. He looked at me and said, You didn't tell me he was coming tonight. I couldn't breathe, Daniel. He raised a hand gently, not angry, not yelling, just controlled. It's okay, he said. I'm actually glad he came. Ryan's eyebrows lifted. I can leave. Daniel shook his head. No, stay, I think this is important. I felt like I was in a nightmare. Daniel walked over to the kitchen, opened the fridge, grabbed 2 bottles of water, and handed one to Ryan like they were buddies. Then he sat down across from Ryan and said, So, how long were you two planning this? Ryan looked at me confused. She texted me a few days ago. Daniel nodded like he was confirming something he already knew. Then he turned to me. You really thought I wouldn't find out? He asked softly. Tears rushed into my eyes. I didn't mean. Daniel leaned forward, still calm, still smiling in that unsettling way. Here's the thing, he said. I've known about Ryan since the grocery store. My chest tightened. What? He nodded. You don't notice it, but when you lie, you over-explain, and you've been distant for weeks. I felt exposed, like someone peeled my skin off. Daniel continued, I was waiting to see what kind of woman you were going to choose to be. Ryan shifted awkwardly. Look, man, I'm not trying to cause. Daniel looked at him. You're not, she is, but thanks for showing up. Then he looked at me again and said the line that destroyed me. You wanted closure, here it is. He pulled a folded paper from his jacket pocket and placed it on the table. Divorce papers. My entire world stopped. I whispered, Daniel, no. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't insult me, he just smiled sadly. I didn't come home to catch you, he said. I came home to end this before it turns me into someone I don't want to be. I collapsed onto the couch, shaking. Ryan stood up immediately. I'm leaving, he muttered, suddenly looking pale. As Ryan walked out, Daniel didn't even watch him, he watched me. Then he said, I loved you enough to trust you, you didn't love me enough to protect it. That was the real closure. Not for the relationship with Ryan, but for my marriage. And the part that hurts most is this. Daniel didn't walk in and smile because he was confident. He smiled because he already mourned us. Before I even realized we were dying.